So, I have seen in a lot of ways, referring to certain thoughts or thinking, certain participations, and there's a question of how much can you do in stopping participation with something, and how much do you need to write about it. And there are some things, like you could have any number of thoughts in a single day, and you're never going to write out every single one of those thoughts. And that might be one of those more general things where you can just stop it. But then if a specific thought happened, and it really brought up a lot of other things, or started opening up a lot of emotions, and you might write that out in self-forgiveness and open that up. And I shouldn't say that I am efficient or very well versed in being able to stop anything in particular. But I like to say at least I've seen how, you just stop. You don't participate, and then there's no way for certain things to get in. And what does get in is where you start writing. You then expand from there. And I just wanted to do this vlog to try and do some self-forgiveness about a particular thinking point, like a thought that comes up that really upsets me, because I like to think so much of these mental participations aren't needed. So they're relatively easy if you can dissect and look into those memories and how did this start forming, and being able to just stop it through writing self-forgiveness and just breath by breath not participating, and then not allowing it to form anymore and just stopping. But the thing that has been grieving me is thoughts like, I need to get up tomorrow, and I need to go maybe pay this insurance or, car insurance. Gotta go to work, gotta do a good job at work, I need to, how am I going to do this at work? And yet, there are so many more things that I can just see how you just can stop. You don't need to be having these thoughts about people, or, and if you don't quite understand, then write it out, and then all of a sudden it starts to kind of expand. But the point here is that I have this idea that, I need to think about, I need to wake up, and then I need to go drive to work, and I need to do this and that, so I need to think about it. Okay, and that's where I'm at right now, is like, that's fair enough. It makes sense. I can do what I can do, but certainly I need to be able to think when needed about certain pressing issues. I don't have the resource here to just be able to function perfectly without having to rely on all these mental kind of thinking and thought functions. But the point here is just to open that up, because I don't really know what I'm capable of. I don't know what I can do to just live and express and still be able to be on top of my duties and responsibilities. And at the same time, I find myself thinking a lot about, I need to go to work tomorrow, and I need to do this and that. And then I continue to think about it. I already said it in my mind as a thought, so why can I not, from there, go and do what I need to do without keep pressing it in my mind? That one thing about, money and, responsibility and workplace and stuff like that. So I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself to fear that if I do not constantly think about going to work and doing these responsibilities, financial or otherwise, that I'm just going to be this zombie who will walk around and can't function and isn't able to comprehend, and there's just nothing going on. Even though I realize that I've applied this same, writing and self-forgiveness and breathing to any number of other things and been able to still function. I can talk to another person, and that doesn't really require much at all. Right now, I'm not planning out anything I'm about to say. I don't know how I'm doing this. I'm not thinking, say this next, say that next. Maybe on a deeper level, there's some kind of circuitry or system in my brain or something that just knows how to talk. And, what my participation in relationship to that is certainly something that, way down the road, if, you could ever get to that kind of intrinsic way that, we function, like this cat's tail. I don't know if that's a reflex or if he's just doing that, but I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself to see how I can apply these tools to practically address stopping different participations and yet not apply them to this fear of needing to think about obligations of money and work. I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself to fear that without constantly thinking about work and financial responsibility, that it will all just slip away and then I'll be out of a job and money and won't be able to function in the world system. And then it makes you wonder, is that just a little thing that I'm trying to sneak by, like, well, I'll do everything else, but I still need to hold on to these thoughts and thinking about work, and I still need that. But I don't know, I need to open that up here and question that for myself. I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself to fear that I won't be able to function and act in a way that is representative of how I talk in this moment, where I am talking and yet don't need to remind myself to talk and don't need to assert my mind within my talking, besides just staying on a certain track of a certain goal, a certain point in this video that doesn't really even come up as a thought or a emotion or anything. It's almost as if it is a very close representation of what just being here and yet still using your mind in a way that's reflective of what here might be, talking. I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself to fear opening up the point of feeling like I need to think about work and these obligations, as if opening it up will somehow press onto me, the need to stop it through self-forgiveness and self-commitment, as if that were to happen, I really would just be lost, even though no other point has ever done that to me where, well, now I'm lost and I can't function and my brain is, like my brain has a virus that I'm just stuck with now because I did this self-forgiveness and self-commitment. I commit myself to continue to investigate this point and to put it into detail, where right now I'm just springing it up on me in this video where I don't really have time to write it down or try to assess it in the same way I would other writing. And yet, just in talking in this vlog, I can still see the point and I can still do the self-forgiveness. And that's a bit more general, but still opens up the point and really gives me a chance to share that with people and to bring it up within myself. So what else can I do to commit myself to say, wow, look at this. I did this. I opened up the point. You know, I did the self-forgiveness. I did the commitment to further the point. You know, I'm not going to stop breathing correct anytime I think about continuously thinking about needing to go do this and that for work and other obligations, because this didn't go into that kind of specificity. But it opened it up for me, and this was me showing to myself, you're so afraid of this point, and yet looking at it now and actually doing the self-forgiveness for it and self-commitment, it's perfectly tameable. You know, I've created this monster of work and responsibility, and it's frightening. What are you going to do if you can't think? Well, you can think, and I certainly will continue to think when I need to. But taking moments like this and just stopping to write, you know, I have the time to do that. You know, I can certainly make as much time as I need to address anything that I need or wish to write out or address for myself, and along with looking at how other people are progressing with the same or other issues in their writings or vlogs. Well, what else can I commit myself to besides just investigating it, you know? I commit myself to not be afraid of thinking, to understand that I will think about things, and there will be times where that might even be necessary. If I'm driving off a cliff and I need to really think, well, I need to see how I'm not going to drive off this cliff, and I don't care what I'm going to be doing in my mind right now. I'm going to keep myself alive, and it's almost proportionate to the need to have that constant income and constantly be taking care of myself financially in that way. So I commit myself to not fear or suppress when I feel like I need to think about these things, but do take the time to look at them in self-honesty, and if anything, how can I improve, and how can I open this up and let me get to the heart of this matter for real and see just what it all boils down to, and not identifying like I can't function as a person without constantly thinking about this same thing over and over. I need to get up, I need to go do this, I need to pay this bill, and like the world's gonna collapse if I don't do that. And thank you anyone for watching this, and have a good day.